Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Weekly Pick'em Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. The NFL Weekly Pick'em Show is brought to you by BetNow.eu for a promo code and a cash deposit on your first deposit. Make sure you use the promo code TRUTH100. I'm your host for the NFL Weekly Pick'em Show, Mike Goodpaster. And last week, I was tied for first with this person, and his name is Brian Schmidt. We were both 10-5 last week, and against the spread, that means we were pretty much kings of the show last week, Brian.
Yeah, we were, and you saved it there because you almost didn't get NFL Pick'em Show there. I don't know what you were ready to say, but you almost did. But you saved it there. You did a really good job at that.
Well, you really do the daily NFL show, and that's where everything goes. Plus, I did like 3 other shows today. I covered a Xavier game, and I'm not even really sure what my name is right now, but I do know this. Our next guest or co-host, he may have to move down to guest after this, but last week with me and Brian, we're 10-5. And Matt Andruscavage was 9-6 on the picks he sent in. This man was a whopping 7-8. Help me welcome to the show our resident quarterback guru, and I do use the word guru sarcastically, Scott Wilson. How you doing, Scott?
I am just doing great. It's been a great weekend, great week. It's going to be a great show.
All right, and we would like to bring up the fact that Andy Dalton led the Cincinnati Bengals to their first win of the season last year, even though he can't read a defense, he can't throw the ball, and he's blind in one eye and can't see out of the other.
Well, his hair, I don't know if you are aware of this, but if you Google his name and put red hair, the number of results, 8 million. That's more than Googling Andy Dalton and awesome, or Andy Dalton sucks. So... yeah.
Okay. I don't know what that has to do with him playing quarterback, but if you Google Ryan
he played
Finley,
a good game. I'll admit he played a good game. He played a good game. I give Dalton credit.
So you admit you were completely wrong this entire time?
No, but he played a good game.
Okay, so the Bengals have a better option to be the starting quarterback.
He's the better option. I agree with that.
Okay, stop right there because
right,
3 weeks ago, Brian, did not Scott Wilson say that Ryan Finley was the best option for this team to win?
Did I say that?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
I don't remember that.
All right, so let's go ahead and let's talk about NFL football. We're done talking about the Bengals. Who should be the NFL MVP right now, Brian?
Oh, well, I mean, you're going to go with the popular pick of, Jackson. Obviously, right now, people are going to go with that pick. I can agree with that, but I think you can still we still have a few weeks left.
Russell Wilson's right the MVP right now. Yeah. Russell Wilson should be the runaway MVP.
I think Russell Wilson is also another great choice, and I'm glad you said his name because it was completely gone out of my head. I think Russell Wilson is another great choice. But I think right now, the popular pick is going to be Jackson.
We're not talking about popular. We're talking about who you think should be the NFL MVP.
Me personally, I'm going to go with Russell Wilson just because he's got a lot less around him than Jackson does. But
plus, he's a lot better.
Yeah, that would be big. And I will say this: I think that everybody's jumping on Jackson right now as the greatest thing since sliced bread. Let's wait a couple years before we anoint him the greatest thing since sliced bread because I don't think defenses are going to catch up.
All right, so wait a second, because I don't even know why I asked you this question, because we have, as I said at the start of the show, our resident quarterback guru, Scott Wilson, who...
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Keep going.
How many touchdown passes did your 8th grade quarterback throw this year?
Which one? Andy?
None is my guess. But, Scott... Lamar Jackson or Russell Wilson, who should be the MVP?
I agree with I agree with Brian. I'm going to go with Russell Wilson. I think so. My point with not picking Jackson. I think Jackson has really been Jackson's an incredible talent, but I think like Brian, what he said was smart is, let's see what happens over the course of, the rest of the season. Russell Wilson, his you just look at his career. I think he's thrown what, 26, he's got 26 to 14% ratio. His worst season he's ever had was 2004. He was 20 to TDs to 7 interceptions. I mean, he is just in absolute control of this team. They're 10-2. I think he's, you just watch him out there, and he seemingly gives this offense a chance to score every single time. 3,100 yards per game, or total, not yards per game, total. I think he's been usurped a lot by Jackson because he's this dynamic dynamo, but I think what Russell Wilson brings, statistically, his numbers are off the charts. I mean, it's almost like college numbers. I think he's propelled the Seahawks into this leagues. I think they're now elite with him, and that's what I think. I think that's why he's the MVP. I think the Ravens are very good, but Russell Wilson's just, first of all, my dad's name is Russell Wilson, which is really cool. But I think I think Russell Wilson's a good person. He's good off the field, even better on the field. So, yeah. What do you think, Mike?
Well, there's no doubt Russell Wilson's the best quarterback in football. I've said it for years, and everybody has mocked me. But in the end, I will always be right. Isn't that correct, Scott?
Well, yeah. I really want to answer that question.
All right, so let's go ahead and let's pick the games this week because that's what Scott is best at, which he'll tell you that he probably shouldn't be a teacher. Scott, we'll let you start off. The Dallas Cowboys are 3-point favorites at Chicago facing the Bears.
So I think this is actually going to be a pretty good game. I think the Bears' defense is really, really impressive to watch sometimes. I'm going to go with the Bears. What did you say the spread was, Mike?
3.
3. So I think the Bears have won 3 or 4 games, even though they came against the Lions' backups. The Cowboys have lost 3 of their last 4, but their losses came against teams that were 8-4. So I'm going to go with Chicago on this. I think Chicago's defense is going to give the Cowboys some fits. And something seems out of sync. I can't put my finger on it. Something seems off with them. So
with
I'm
who?
taking Chicago. With Dallas.
Yeah, because they don't have a football coach.
Right. I think again, it's like with the Dallas is. I think if you take Jerry Jones out of the situation, it's kind of like the Bengals. I think it's a totally different team. Dallas has lost some pretty. They played some games that they don't. I mean, they scored what? I know it's New England. They scored 9 points against New England, 15 against Buffalo. They got a lot against Detroit, and they don't do well against teams that have above 500 records. So I'm taking Chicago on this.
All right, Brian.
Yeah, every time I've gone with Dallas, lately they just seem to not play well at all, and there's something really wrong. I mean, it starts with the head coach, but I think overall, I think systematically, there's a lot going on with that organization. I'm going to go with Chicago.
Right. And Dallas is better, but they're Dallas. I'm going with Chicago also. Next up, Brian. The Baltimore Ravens are favored by 6.5 points at Buffalo. This is a huge game. This is the game of the week to me.
Yeah, this is going to be a great game. And I'm going to go with the hot hand. I'm going to go with Baltimore.
Okay. Scooter, what are you doing?
Well, Buffalo, I think, is a really good team, and this is a tough game to pick. I'm going to go with. I agree with Brian. I think Baltimore, they're the hot team. Both teams, they really like to run the ball. They've got explosive playmakers. But I think the Ravens have – you can't. The thing about what it's just hard to defend Baltimore because you can't simulate Lamar Jackson in practice. There isn't a player in the league that can simulate that, and maybe John Ross, but besides him, I just think the Ravens' dynamic attack is going to force Buffalo to try to keep pace. I would pick the over on this, but I would also, like Brian was saying, I just think you go with a hot hand. And Baltimore, I don't know if there's some psychological advantage they have because teams know that how in the world they're going to try to maybe they end up over preparing for Lamar Jackson. I don't know, but I know Dallas is overall there. I think head to head.
What does this have to do with Dallas, by the way?
What?
You said Dallas.
I'm sorry. I'm in Baltimore. It's been a long day. I just think Baltimore is in a better position right now. I think they're, that interview Lamar Jackson gave where he was talking about right after the win 2 weeks ago. I mean, that guy, that's the first time I've heard him interview. That guy just exudes, you want to play for me, and I'm going to lead you guys to the promised land. So I trust Lamar right now in the Ravens.
All right. I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills and the points. I think this. Last week we listened to everybody on national TV immediately picked the Cowboys to win. Everybody ignores Buffalo. Buffalo can play defense. They've got Devin Singletary. They got Frank Gore running the ball. Josh Allen has played. Last week he played better than what, Lamar Jackson played. He's not turning the ball over the last month. He was 19 for 24 against the Cowboys. And if there's any quarterback that can do what Lamar Jackson does, it's Josh Allen, who can run also. And I think Buffalo's going to win the game, but I'm going to take the points just because we're doing a point spread thing. And just think of this. If Buffalo wins this game, all of a sudden they're 10-3 and possibly tied with the Patriots for first, who play the Chiefs, and tied with the number one spot for the playoffs. Changes the narrative on everything. I like the Bills here. Next up, the Washington Redskins are 13-point underdogs at the Green Bay Packers. I'll start this off, and I'm going to take Washington and the points. Brian?
This is Washington and Green Bay, you said?
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of points, but I'm going to take Green Bay.
All right, Scott, and I would like to bring up this, though. The reason I do this is because, of course, Dwayne Haskins sucks. And I would like to bring up the fact that I got text over the last 2 years telling me how great an NFL quarterback Dwayne Haskins would be, and it would be awesome if the Bengals got him. But he sucks. But they do have a healthy Darius Geis, and they have Adrian Peterson, and the Packers have a hard time against teams that line up and run the ball between the tackles at them. So I think Washington can stay in this game and cover this, Scott.
You said, what would you say the spread was, Mike? 14? 13. So I think I'm going to take actually Washington on this because I don't think that's just a really high point spread. I don't think the Packers are going to cover the spread. So I think the Redskins are going to do it for the game. I think they'll do what they did against the Panthers on the road. They're going to run with Geis and Peterson. And I think the Packers are vulnerable to a state dose of power running, but at the same time, the Redskins pass rush. I think Rodgers is going to really. He's going to give that pass rush a lot of problems. There's no way that the Redskins can cover Devontae Adams and Alan Lazard, and I think the Packers are going to. They need to turn the tables themselves, and I think they run well with Adam Jones and Jamal Williams. I think they're going to put. I think their return to Lambeau in the fourth quarter, I think that's where you're going to see them pull away. But I still think it's just a huge spread. I still like Haskins, but I think
why
he struggles. Well, I think he's got a good arm. I think he's accurate, but he really struggles.
He's not accurate. How can you call him accurate?
No, hold on. Please stop. Hold on. I think he struggles. If he faces a pass rush, he panics. He's not comfortable against.
Then how could he be accurate?
Kind of pass rush. Well, I'm saying, again, when he was playing Ohio State, he had all day to throw. So I will admit, whoever sent you that text, Mike, is a moron. Why would they say that?
You.
I don't remember that.
Actually, you sent it to me before you even got to college. But
I didn't want the Bengals to draft him, though. I think that'd be a bad thing.
Anybody would be better than Andy Dalton, is what you said. But we found out Ryan Finley's not. Next up, the Denver Broncos at the Houston Texans. Houston is a 9.5-point favorite, Scott.
I'm going to go with Houston on this. I think Deshaun Watson, he's another one that just exudes confidence. I think he's playing really well. I think the Texans are a team that they're kind of a hit or miss. I like them because I think this is a game that I think they're going to win by this game by a lot because I think Watson really likes running around the field. I think he can throw deep. I don't think he has any restrictions, especially this late in the season. I think there's a lot. They've got some momentum. The win over the Patriots was huge. They had a big win over the Colts. And I don't think there's going to be a letdown. The problem with this game is Drew Lock is starting. It's his first road start as a rookie. And I think that is a real problem they're going to deal with. So that's my
because
pick.
he's not very good.
Right. I agree.
Hell, I might be wrong on that one. Brian?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Texans. Again, another hot team, hot hand. And until they cool off, they're going to be a good team to go with.
All right, Schmidt, outside of the Baltimore Buffalo, this has to be a game of the week candidate too. The San Francisco 49ers will travel to New Orleans to play the Saints. The Saints are 2.5-point favorites at home.
This is a tough one. But the one thing is the 49ers have struggled against teams with winning records. Good teams. I'm not talking teams that are barely over 500. I'm talking good teams. I mean, when I say struggled, I mean they've lost close games, but they've lost, especially on the road. So I'll take the Saints.
All right, Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Wilson says that the Niners. I think they do struggle, but I think the Saints pass for the Saints. Pretty serious injury issues in front of Breeze. What I think is going to happen, I think teams are going to try to get creative, both of them, with their running game, because I think that these are pretty tough matchups. I think the thing that's pretty cool about this game is you've got two pretty good coaching minds with Shanahan and Payton. And I think I think you may see some unconventional offensive play calls. I think it's going to have a feel of, kind of like a grinding defensive struggle for San Francisco, but I just think New Orleans is going to struggle defending the run and passing more than San Francisco. I think the 49ers win probably by 7.
All right, so you're taking the Niners. Is Marshawn Lattimore going to be playing? Because that's who I pick. Is if he plays, I'm picking the Saints. If he doesn't play, I pick the Niners.
Hold on. I'll tell you. Let's see. He is.
Lattimore's coming back. It looks like he's going to be he and Deontay Harris also.
We played Thursday, but if he is healthy, he had a hamstring. If he's healthy, I think the Saints go to the Super Bowl. If he's not healthy, they get beat. I'm going to go with the Saints and assume he's going to play because it's a totally different defense when Lattimore's not playing. Next up, Scott Wilson's Cincinnati Bengals, led by his favorite redheaded quarterback, Andy Dalton, will travel to Cleveland to play the Browns, who are 8-point dogs, Scott.
I think they probably should be a lot more dogs. I think you're going to see Andy Dalton resort back to typical Andy Dalton. So there's some pretty telling stats from Pro Football Focus.
So typical Andy Dalton would be winning.
Well, hold on here. He's 23rd in Pro Football Focus with big time throws. He's got 12 of them. That's the highest.
Dude, it's Pro Football Focus. Do you pay for Pro Football Focus?
Well, hold on. No, I don't. I'm just reading. There's an article. I think Doherty wrote it. I think here's another one. They said only 40% of his throws that are 10 plus yards or more have been, or 40% have been uncatchable or inaccurate. The only two worst quarterbacks are Trubisky and Sam Darnold.
So
He's
answer me
19th
this:
in judge.
on those, since you're missing a couple of your best receivers, how many of those were uncatchable because the routes run were wrong?
Oh, Mike, there's no question about that. I think you're right about that. And the more you watch, you look at that, you see that. I think the Bengals have found some stability with Dalton QB. I will admit that, and I do apologize for how insensitive you were to my thoughts. But I think, even though their offense looks legitimate, I think the Browns, even though they didn't run well against the Steelers, I think they're going to run all day on the Bengals. The Bengals defense has played better, but I just think, I think the Browns, against a team like this, I think the Bengals are really going to struggle. I think Mayfield's going to have a really, really good day. And, yeah, I'm going with the Browns on this.
Well, I think you're ate up with dumbass. I'm going to take the Bengals into points, Brian, and I think the Bengals are going to win the game because the Browns may have the only coach worse than Opie Taylor.
I am in agreement. I am going to take the Bengals. I don't know if the Bengals will win, but that point spread's too high to begin with Andy Dalton playing. So I'm gonna go with the Bengals.
Yeah, let's face it. The Browns had a shot to get in a playoff hunt, and they lost to a dude named Duck.
That's exactly what they did.
Yeah. So, and I hate to tell you this, but do you think that Duck is better than Andy Dalton, Scott?
Oh, I was hoping
Is he better
you were
than
not
Andy
gonna
Dalton?
ask that.
Yeah, I don't think Dalton. With Dalton, the problem with Dalton is he plays well. I think he plays well enough in some games, but then he resorts back to,
What's
I
he
don't know.
resort
I
back
don't-
to? I mean, he's won the majority of his games. He's probably got the best winning percentage of any Bengals quarterback ever.
Well, that's really not saying a lot given the Bengals.
Mike
I
Kenny
just think
Anderson's
with
a Hall
Dalton,
of Famer. Boomer Esiason won an MVP.
I'll take Esiason any day over Dalton. I just think with Dalton, he is who he is. I don't think Dalton. I think Dalton struggles against teams that can mix coverages. He throws a lot of picks. We talked about this before.
Let me ask you this, though. You made a comment that you would take Esiason over him. I wouldn't, because Esiason wasn't big in big games. If you look at the playoff run, they won those two Wait a second. They won the two playoff games because they ran the ball. In the Super Bowl.
But this isn't a playoff game right now. This is just a regular season game. And speaking of playoff games, let's go back to Dalton's 0-1 record in the playoffs.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm pretty sure if we put Andy Dalton on the 88 Bengals, they'd have had a better chance to win that Super Bowl because I don't think he'd have been. Wait a second. Boomer Esiason was 11 for 25 for 126 yards and an interception.
Against the San Francisco defense. The 49ers defense is pretty good.
The 49ers defense
Stanley
was pretty good.
Wilson's cocaine problem was what killed them, not anything else.
No, the Stanley Wilson cocaine problem is not what killed them.
I know that, but neither quarterback is a good playoff caliber quarterback. I just think in big games and with Andy Dalton, can you really, if you're playing the Patriots, do you really look at Dalton like, yeah, we can do this with
because
Dalton?
I watched him do it 3 or 4 years ago in Cincinnati.
Well, I was at that game, but that was also against pretty nasty weather.
Which is what Tom Brady is best at, and Andy Dalton beat him in that game.
That to the last drive, Dalton, that win and the rain was just awful for Brady. And the Bengals were better. The Bengals play well, but I don't think it's because Dalton's not a guy I just want to trust.
So when they play well, it's not Andy Dalton. But if they play bad, it's Andy Dalton. That makes absolutely no sense.
I didn't say that. I just said against really good teams or against above 500 teams, do I trust Dalton to win the game? No. He does certain things well, but I think he's got limitations.
What about Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah. What about he's phenomenal.
Really? Because against teams with winning records, he's like 20 games below 500 in his career.
So if you pull 1,000 people and you're like, who do you want?
That's not the point here. We're not pulling 1,000 people. We're just saying they have similar winning percentages against teams with winning records. Because I hate to tell you this, Scott, but most quarterbacks outside of Tom Brady, have a losing record against teams with winning records?
Well, I mean, but is that all Aaron Rodgers' fault?
Oh, wait a second. Is it all Andy Dalton's fault?
No, I never said it was Dalton's fault.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You said it was Dalton's fault. You said it wasn't Rodgers' fault. For some reason, you just don't like redheaded white people. You're a racist.
TDs, interceptions. Rodgers thrown his career 360 TDs, 82 interceptions. He's thrown 22 TDs this year.
And with all those great stats, he won one Super Bowl a decade ago.
Do you really think Andy Dalton will lead any team to the Super Bowl throughout?
I think in 2015 he would have led the Bengals to the Super Bowl and they would have won it. They had the best team. He was having an MVP season. I think it was 28 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. So that year tells me how good he is.
Well, Andy, he's got it. Like they've said he's got to have a supporting cast because
that's almost every quarterback in the NFL except for 5 guys.
But Dalton's not a guy that you can trust to pull a rabbit out of a hat. Like when I've been to one game in all the years I saw Dalton in Seattle. They were 17, and they came back to tie it. They won in overtime a couple of years ago.
Well, I remember Andy Dalton going to Pittsburgh a couple times and winning games with last-minute drives. You remember that, Brian?
Yep.
I mean,
and for his career, Andy Dalton throwing to. And what? Oh, okay. So now it's because he's. See, this is the thing.
Well,
no, hold on. This is the thing. You want to be right so much that all you're going to do is make excuses because now it's because A.J. Green was there catching the ball. But you know what? Wait a second, because a couple weeks ago. When we did the show, we talked about Ryan Finley, and after his first game, he sucked. He said, you got to remember, he doesn't have A.J. Green.
Mike, what I'm saying is, my point is, Andy Dalton had A.J. Green, he had Marvin Jones,
Marvin Jones and Mohamed Sanu have been awesome since they've left Andy Dalton, haven't they?
But he had a lot of talent. I just think Dalton, he's not a good coverage reader.
Oh, bullshit. You know what? I get so tired of that. This is the thing that pisses me off. The thing that pisses me off about fans that have no clue is when they say that was bad play calling or that quarterback can't read a defense. Because I hate to tell you this, but if you can't read a defense and you've never called a play in a game, you don't have a clue what's bad play calling, and you don't have a clue whether a quarterback can read a defense or not. Can I get an amen, Schmidt?
Yeah, amen.
Because you don't know what he sees. You watch on TV and you think, oh, this guy's wide open. But maybe this is the thing. Maybe that defense is out and they're in a coverage where that guy wouldn't be wide open, but somebody blew the coverage. So Andy Dalton didn't look there.
Tell me why he threw to
here we go.
Not open A.J. Green in the against Denver a couple of years ago.
I can tell you this, because he's A.J. freaking Green. And when you've got A.J. Green, shut up and listen. You want me to answer it. When you got A.J. Green and Julio Jones in a big situation, you throw the ball to them whether they're covered or not. Because if you're not going to throw the ball to a double-covered A.J. Green or a double-covered Julio Jones, you're probably never going to throw to him. Can I get an amen, Schmitty?
Amen.
You ever hear of a 50-50 ball?
I know that when I give my response, I talk after one sentence.
Well, it's because you're wrong, but go ahead. I'll let you speak this time.
I know it was A.J. Green, but he literally, I was in the end zone. He didn't even look to the left. Whoever I forget who the tight end was. He ran a little hook. He was wide open. There was nobody there. And
really?
He was walked in the end zone.
Okay. Now, I'll bet you this. If you go and you sit in the end zone at New England Patriot games, I would say probably 30% of the time, Tom Brady probably misses an open receiver because of a read he made.
Well, he has how many rings? I don't think anybody cares.
This is the thing. You talked about Boomer Esiason. Boomer Esiason took the Bengals to the playoffs twice. Andy Dalton did it 5 straight years, his first 5 years.
But the point is, I'm not saying Dalton is I mean, Boomer Esiason's that much better than Dalton. I just think they were above. Dalton's an above-average quarterback, but it's not much.
Okay, so this is the thing. If he's an above-average quarterback, why are you trying to replace him? Because there's only 5 guys that are better than above average in the NFL.
Well, because I think after all these years, you've had how many chances to lead a team.
All right, how about
to
this?
A playoff win?
Kenny Anderson started playing with the Cincinnati Bengals in 1971. It took 10, 11 seasons before he ever won a playoff game and took him to a Super Bowl. Now, people acted the same way that you are right now with Dalton. What they said was he had not a strong enough arm, and he couldn't read a defense good enough. He was injury prone until he wasn't, until they put a team around him so he could win. If you send Terry Bradshaw to the New Orleans Saints in 1970, he never wins a damn thing. If you send Tom Brady to the Cleveland Browns in 2000, he never wins a damn thing. May not even start a game in the NFL. The whole thing is this. If you don't put players around a guy, you can't win. When the Bengals had the players around him in 2015, when he got hurt, they were 10-2, and he was the favorite to win the MVP. You removed him from that team, and they finished the season 2-3.
Well, Dalton was ranked 29th, I think, in 2012 or 13 by, I think, Bleacher Report on Armstrong.
Jesus criminy. Really?
So
wait a second. Do this for me. Tell me who wrote that article, who was judging the arm strength of all NFL quarterbacks for Bleacher Report.
Maybe, I don't know. They get it from Pro Football Focus. I don't know.
Yeah, and Pro Football Focus is bullcrap.
Look,
all I'm asking you is this. Maybe use your brain, use your eyes, and quit using other people's to make your judgments for you.
I went there. I've had season tickets from 2000.
My God, that is the first sign that I'm going to tune somebody out when they start to tell me about Andy Dalton, when they start off with, I've had season tickets. I haven't, but I know more than you do.
You're right. You know what? He's going to lead this team to the promised land. Let's just do that.
No, he will lead this team to the promised land if you give him the players to do it. As
you've already given him. He hasn't, Mike.
He got hurt. He got hurt.
Okay, but it's year after. It's another thing. It's another
thing. Well, you're full of shit.
Well,
all I can tell you is this.
Mike's 32. He's 32 years old.
He's 32.
He's 32 years old.
Yeah. He's been in the league for 9 years. Hey, it's the first thing you've said that was right. All right, let's switch off of this real quick. We're going to Carolina at Atlanta. Atlanta -3, Brian.
Oh, go Atlanta. Definitely go
Atlanta. I'm going to go with Atlanta also. Scott?
I'm taking Atlanta on this as well.
That makes me feel much better because you've got season tickets to the Bengals. You don't anymore, right? You got smart.
No, I after having my first kid, I just decided to need more time with him. Plus, my wife says she'd be more attractive if I didn't have a season ticket.
All right, so your wife told you couldn't have season tickets. All right, next up, the Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota is favored by 12.5 points, Scott.
I think they should be favored by more. I think the Vikings are going to win probably by close to 20, 17. I think Stafford's still out, even though Driscoll's on IR, but I don't know. I think that quarterback played pretty well. This is going to be a tough road test, but I think he looks like he's got a lot of confidence. He seems like he's willing to sling the ball.
You do know that Pro Football Focus ranked him as like one of the worst arms in college football last year.
Well, what I saw, whatever. What I saw with that guy, I think him. Although Dalvin Cook needs to do a better job blocking for him. And is he out this week, Mike?
I don't think they've made a final determination yet.
Okay. I think they can do whatever they want offensively in this game with Cousins and Cook. But I just think the Vikings, and I think Zimmer doesn't get enough credit for his defense. I think he's a really good defensive coach. And I think you can see it the way Minnesota plays defense. So I'm taking the Vikings.
All right. When we pick Detroit and Minnesota, it shouldn't take 3 minutes. Brian, show him how to do this.
Minnesota.
All right. Next up, Miami at the Jets, and the Jets are favored by 5 points. Scott.
I will take who'd you say the Jets are favored?
The Jets are favored by 5 against Miami.
All right, I'm going to take Miami. I think the game's going to be close. I think Miami's going to win a close, but I don't think they're going to cover.
Yeah, I'm going to take Miami also because I really like what Brian Flores has done down there because they've basically tanked a team like Major League, Brian, but the team is now winning. So who do you got?
Yeah, I'm going with Miami. After the way the Jets have played recently, to me, they may be the worst team. They may be worse than Miami, but everybody thinks Miami's bad.
Yeah, but the Jets did win a couple games in a row before that. So
yeah, but I'll tell you, I don't know. Just watching them, they look like a worse team right now. The Dolphins are flying around. They may not win the games, but they're playing with energy. They're flying around, and normally in the NFL, a team like that, normally at this point, they're just trying not to get hurt and collect paycheck.
Why did somebody just send me something that says join a FaceTime call?
I don't know.
Was that you, Scott?
Probably. He's off.
Oh, well, good. Listen. Next up, we have the Indianapolis Colts at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay is favored by 3 points, Brian.
I like this Tampa Bay team. We've had the conversation on the show about Jameis Winston, but I think they're playing pretty well offensively. They look pretty decent. I'm going to go. I'm going to go with the Bucs.
All right, I'm going to go with the Bucs too because I think this defense is really good, and they get the quarterback thing straightened out. They could be a pretty good team next year.
They could, and they're not out of the playoff race. I mean,
hello. Why did you leave us and send us something for a FaceTime call?
I did not. That was from you.
I don't do FaceTime. I don't even know what a FaceTime call is. But Scott, Indianapolis or Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is favored by 3. Me and Schmidt have both taken Tampa Bay.
I'm also going to agree with you guys. Great minds just always think alike. I think Tampa Bay wins. I think they win by a lot, maybe by 10. I just think the Colts have become a shell of the offense. I think they've got a lot of injuries, and I think it's really hurting Jacoby's production efficiency. So I take the Bucs.
All right, next up, the Chargers travel to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. The Jaguars are 3-point underdogs. I'll start it off. I'm going to take Minshew Mania, and I'm going to take the points. Brian?
I'm going to agree with you. I don't like the way this Charger team is playing, so I'm going to take
I don't like the way the Jaguars are playing either. I just think maybe Minshew, being a little younger, give a little spark here. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to take the Jags on this. I just think that the Chargers, they just seem like they're just struggling to find any spark with Rivers, and I think he's making some key mistakes. And I don't know. They're kind of like they just seem like another team that's just struggling just to find an identity. I think the Chargers are going to do their best to win, but I think Minshew, I don't think he's going to waste time with this is a second chance to make a good impression. I think the Jags win, they cover.
All right, next up, Brian, the Kansas City Chiefs go to New England to play the New England Patriots. The Patriots are favored by 3.
Man, I'm gonna take the Chiefs. I think this will be a pretty good game, but I like the Chiefs. Patriots just, yes, the record, but when you see them the last few weeks, they just seem a little off right now, and maybe age is finally catching up to Brady, but we'll see how that is when playoff time comes. But I'm gonna take the Chiefs. I like the way they're playing right now. They're offensively, defensively, they've gotten better. They're not a great defense, but they've gotten better. And I'm gonna take Mahomes.
All right, Mr. Wilson.
So I think he's right. As far as with Brady, I mean, he definitely. It just seems like, was he 42 years old? His stats have dropped tremendously this year, but I just think that this is another game where I think Belichick is going to outcoach Andy Reid. I think Tom Brady's going to get the ball out quickly to intermediate routes. I think that's going to neutralize Kansas City's pass rush. And the problem, again, is just New England's defense is really, really good, and I think they cover well. I just think this is a game I think Brady's going to show up and kind of remind everybody he's the greatest of all time.
So I guess you're taking New England?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go with Schmidt. I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I hate to, and I hope I'm wrong and Scott's right because I love the New England Patriots. Next up, I really do, too. Pittsburgh at Arizona. And Pittsburgh is favored by 2.5 on the road, Brian.
Yeah, I'm going to take Pittsburgh. Playing great defensively. I can't say offensively they're playing all that great, but the difference right now between Duck and Rudolph is, and we saw this.
It's almost Christmas, so I would err on the side of Rudolph over a Duck.
Well, the thing about Duck is when it's a receiver's one-on-one, he's going to throw the 50-50 ball, which he did 4 times against Cleveland and completed all 4 of them. I think 2 of them were touchdowns. I know the one to Washington was just a great one-on-one throw, back shoulder, put it in a position for the receiver to make a play. And defensively, they just fly around. This is Pittsburgh's killer defense from years gone by that just flies around, gets turnovers, makes plays, and I think that they'll give the Cardinals fits.
All right, Scotty.
Well, I mean, we're talking about Delvin Hodges though, right? He's the quarterback. I think Hodges is. I don't think the Cardinals are going to slow either element of the offense and the adjustments they've made for Delvin Hodges. So I think I'm taking the Steelers on this. The thing, I think Kyler Murray, he had a rough game against the Rams at home, and I think he's going to be kind of like in a one-dimensional mode against a good passer. I mean, Brian's right. The Steelers' defense, it looks like the Steelers of old. They come with such a different mentality than you just, as a Bengals fan, you ever see here. And I think they got a good secondary too. So I'm taking Pittsburgh. I think they covered the spread by a lot.
All right.
Also, Murray is banged up.
Yeah,
that's why I'm
taking Pittsburgh actually, because I don't trust the Steelers. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I think Mike Tomlin has done an outstanding job with that team, and he's no Opie Taylor. Tennessee at Oakland. Tennessee's favored by 3. I'll start this out. I'm taking the Titans. Scott?
I think we should have just me pick last to see what happens if that. Yeah, it'd be like my trap picks where I trap you all. I think the Titans win by 11. I think 31-20. I think they cover the spread by a lot. And I just think the Titans are clicking really well. And I think Tannehill he's passing pretty aggressively. And Derrick Henry is just really fun to watch. I was in an Alabama football camp.
Oh, that's awesome. We get to hear the Alabama football camp story again.
No, Derrick Henry was like probably 10 feet from us. That dude is enormous. He's a giant. So I like Henry. I think he's a good runner, and I think they're well coached. I take the Titans.
All right. And the thing I've noticed is this, Scott. Whenever you pick after somebody, you almost always pick what they pick. Brian, do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I agree, and I'm going to take the Titans.
All right. Well, Schmidt seems to do the same thing now. Next up, the Seattle Seahawks at the LA Rams. Seattle is favored by 1, Scott.
Seattle, if this were a home game, I'd take Seattle. I think the Rams looked pretty good last week. I'm going to take the Rams to cover, and I think Jared Goff. I think he's going to carry the offense, that confidence back home. I think Jared Goff plays well at home, and I think the problem for the Seahawks, it's coming off a short week, so I think that's going to come into play. I think the Rams are going to win by about 5.
All right, I'm taking Seattle. I think Seattle will win this game by at least a touchdown. I think you have to be an absolute moron to think that they won't. But that's why we let you go first, Scott. What do you think, Brian?
Oh, God, yeah, I'm taking Seattle.
Come on. They shut down the Cardinals, and Goff looked good against the Cardinals.
I don't believe in this Rams team, and the difference right now when you watch Los Angeles is teams like Pittsburgh and like what's going to happen with Seattle that are going to sit there and they're going to punch you in the mouth. Gives the Rams fits. Seattle maybe is not, they're obviously not as good defense as Pittsburgh, but they will play physical and they will hit you in the mouth. And Russell Wilson is going to put 30 points up at least.
Okay. So that was the dumbest pick of the week was by Scott. All right, remember that, Scott. So
What?
If you're right, you can talk crap. Well, because it's a dumb pick. To pick
Oh,
the
you're
Rams
dang
over the
right.
Seahawks.
This is my upset of the week.
Yeah. Upset of the week probably shouldn't be a 1-point underdog. Just saying.
It's my shock power pick.
Your shock power. Double shock power, as Don King
Yes.
used to say. Next up,
take
the
that.
New York Giants, with future Hall of Fame quarterback Eli Manning, will travel to Philadelphia to battle the Eagles, who haven't been able to get out of their own way. Scott, who do you like here?
Well, I want the Giants to win because of the draft seeding for the Bengals, but that's not going to happen. I think the Giants, they've lost eight straight games. They're out of the playoffs. But the thing, this doesn't seem like a game. I like Daniel Jones, but it's just an ugly game.
You do?
The Eagles have lost 3 in a row.
You realize
the
Eli
Eagles have
Manning's
lost.
playing, right?
Are you sure about this?
Yeah, I'm positive.
Positive.
Okay. Well,
It was announced earlier this morning.
Oh, I was unaware of that.
12
I still
hours
think the
ago.
Eagles are going to win.
It's good that you study for
Okay.
the show, though. Go ahead.
Well, I do. How about my Dalton stats? I got more. You want to hear more stats?
No,
He's not
because stats are
20
for
sacks,
losers.
Sorry. All right.
And if you give me
I do think
stats, that makes him what, Brian?
Okay. What?
Loser. Stats are for
You're right.
losers.
Stats are overrated. So Tom Brady's overrated. Is that what you're saying?
No, he's got 6 Super Bowls, right?
Well, that's a stat, though.
That's not a stat. That is something tangible you put on your fingers.
Okay, so I think the Eagles will win, and they're going to cover the spread.
Okay. There's no spread yet, so we're just doing this straight up. Brian, Giants or Eagles?
The spread's 8.5.
Well, there's no spread on mine, but we'll make it 8.5 then. So the spread's 8.5, Schmitty. Eagles or Giants?
The Eagles are favored by 8.5.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah.
I'm taking the Giants.
Yeah, me too. 8.5's too much. I mean, we did just watch them lose to Miami. So.
Oh, we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see that me and Schmitty were both 10-5 last week. You're 47 games out of first and went 7-8 last week. And, Brian is still like 8 games behind me at least. Matt's got the
What did you go? What did you go last week, Mike?
I was 10-5, as was Brian.
Okay, that was 3. You picked 3 more right, so whatever. That was close. Although it's been a rough year.
Wait a second. 10-5 against 7-8. 10-5 gets you into the playoffs. 7-8 gets you fired.
Well, 7-8 is not the final record. You play 16 games.
Really? So you do
Yes.
know something.
That's right. Okay.
All right.
So I appreciate. Yes, this has been so fun.
Scott, any words of wisdom?
Yes, sir. Hey, just know that Christmas gifts are overrated. Spend time with your family, and yeah, that's it. Spend time with your family. It's more fun.
All right, Brian.
I always feel dumber by the end of the show.
Oh, don't we all? Scott gets smarter, we get dumber.
Yes. That's the whole purpose of this show is my intelligence.
Yeah. And just what I was talking about to Brian, I always thought teachers were underpaid until I met you.
In addition to teaching 2 subjects, I'm running a gym class, and I'm also.
They let you be the gym teacher?
Well, yeah, we have a lot of fun. We do dynamic stretching.
Oh God.
We play what's the red alert? It's like dodgeball on steroids. Super fun. It's all we get after it.
Can I come up and play sometime?
You should. Well, you're not allowed to do headshots, which
Well, I take headshots on you.
I gotta feel. Well, these are like little Nerf balls. These aren't like the balls.
Oh, so you play sissy ball? How about we just use
I don't have a choice.
Can we use hard-boiled eggs?
Well, I mean, yeah. I don't know if that's ever been an option in our school, but you never know, Mike. You got to call our superintendent and see what he says.
I will then. And I don't have to call him. You just said it was all right. So I'll be up tomorrow. I'll bring my son, and we'll play with – because when my sons were like 6 and 8, we used to go out and have hard-boiled egg fights for Easter.
11:45. Show up to the the high school gym. I don't think you have the guts. I don't think you'll do it.
I don't even know where the high school is. I haven't been there since the old school was there.
It's nice. Nice building. So –
You haven't had any more teachers arrested for being pedophiles, have you?
No, we've had some. I don't want to get into it. I'll talk to you off the air.
We've had every school.
We've had some. There's been some drama. I'll just leave it at that.
All right.
We'll talk.
All right, guys. We're gonna wrap it up so we don't get into the drama, whatever that means.
Yes.
We will be back next week, maybe. So make sure you listen to all of our shows on iHeartRadio. Also tomorrow, I want to bring up the fact tomorrow at 4 o'clock live, me and Andy McWilliams will be on for Crosstown Shootout Preview, where Xavier will smash Scott Wilson's favorite team, the Cincinnati Bearcats. At noon tomorrow, me and Anthony Servino will be on with the NFL show. And I think there's some other shows over the next couple days. So just follow along on thegrillingtruth.com. But for now, he's Scott Wilson. He's Brian Schmidt.
Yeah.
I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where we've lost Matt Andruscavage, and we can't find him. Hopefully he didn't get mad because Scott's still on the show. We'll see you guys later.